The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Maya Richardson adjusted her charcoal blazer, watching the proceedings from the third row of wooden benches. Her case would be simple: a missed stop sign on the corner of Maple and Fifth. As a federal prosecutor who routinely handled complex international trafficking cases, she found a strange irony in sitting among civilians for such a minor infraction. Judge Theodore Phillips moved through the morning docket with mechanical efficiency. Next case, parking violation, Henderson. A nervous teenager stepped forward, paid his fine, and scurried away. Maya observed the judge's consistent pattern: brief eye contact, cursory review, standard fine. Next case. The process had all the warmth of an automated ticketing machine. Her phone vibrated silently. A message about tomorrow's major drug cartel case. Maya typed a quick response to her paralegal, then looked up as Judge Phillips called, "Richardson, failure to stop." The change in his demeanor was subtle but unmistakable. His posture stiffened, and his fingers drummed once on the bench before going still. "Please approach the podium," he said, his voice carrying a note she'd heard before in opposing counsels who underestimated her. Maya walked forward, her heels clicking against the worn tiles. The morning sunlight streaming through tall windows caught the silver threads in the judge's hair as he peered down at her citation. "Says here you ran a stop sign at 7:43 a.m. on Tuesday." Judge Phillips glanced up, his pale blue eyes scanning her face. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Maya cleared her throat. "Your Honor, if I may explain the circumstances." "The circumstances of failing to obey a basic traffic sign." His interruption carried a sharp edge. The bailiff shifted uncomfortably, and a murmur rippled through the waiting defendants. There was an emergency vehicle approaching from. "Ms. Richardson, a stop sign is not a suggestion. The fine is $300. The amount was notably higher than the standard $150 she'd observed all morning. Judge Phillips was already reaching for his gavel. Maya felt a familiar tension in her jaw, one she usually reserved for courtroom battles with far higher stakes. "Your Honor, I would like to present evidence that..." The gavel cracked down. "Fine doubled for arguing with the court." Next case. Maya stood perfectly still, her federal prosecutor's badge burning a hole in her briefcase. She could reveal her position, watch his face change as he realized his mistake. It would be satisfying. But it would also be exactly what he expected from someone he'd clearly prejudged. Instead, she pulled out her checkbook with deliberate calm. The bailiff watched her with unusual intensity as she wrote the amount, his dark eyes holding something that might have been approval. Maya placed the check in the payment box, signed the citation acknowledgement, and turned to leave. As she reached the heavy wooden doors, a strange shimmer caught her eye, like heat waves distorting the air near the ceiling. For a moment, the fluorescent lights seemed to pulse with an otherworldly rhythm. Maya blinked, and the effect vanished. She dismissed it as a trick of the morning light and stepped into the hallway, already focusing on her upcoming federal cases. Behind her, unseen by any human eye, a crystalline sensor pulsed with recorded data. In high orbit above the Earth, sophisticated algorithms noted the incident's departure from standard procedural patterns. Deep in the Nexian observation vessel's core, a priority flag flashed. Anomaly detected. Further investigation required. The doors of Courtroom 7B swung shut, and Judge Phillips called the next case, unaware that this mundane Tuesday morning had just set in motion events that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. Senior observer Kex 227 studied the holographic replay for the 17th time, crystalline appendages shifting in a pattern that indicated deep analytical focus. The human judicial proceeding from Courtroom 7B remained displayed in perfect clarity, floating in the observation chamber of the Nexian vessel. "Behavioral anomaly confirmed," announced second observer Yeet 449, her translucent form refracting the soft blue light of the ship's interior. Subject Maya Richardson displayed a 73.4% lower aggression response than our models predicted for her species under similar circumstances. The observation vessel hung silently in geosynchronous orbit, cloaked by technology beyond human detection capabilities. Earth rotated slowly beneath them, a marble of blue and white that had occupied their attention for the past 3 cycles. Query: Cakes 227 projected, the thought rippling through the ship's crystalline matrix. How many similar incidents have we recorded since beginning our survey? The data streams flowed instantly, compiling thousands of hours of judicial observations from every continent. The results materialized in the chamber, hundreds of floating images showing courtrooms, legal proceedings, and moments of conflict. Among them, the incident from Courtroom 7B pulsed with unique energy signatures. Fascinating, hummed IT 449, her form elongating with interest. The human showed awareness of power dynamics, yet chose restraint. This contradicts our baseline assumptions about their species' development stage. The vessel's interior shifted colors as they processed this information. Earth had been classified as a Level 3 civilization, advanced enough for basic space travel, but too primitive for inclusion in the Galactic Conference. Yet this incident suggested something their previous assessments had missed. A third observer, Z891, materialized within the chamber. The human's neural patterns during the incident reveal complex decision-making processes. She possessed power advantage, but deliberately withheld its use. This indicates sophisticated social awareness previously unrecorded in Level 3 species. Cakes 227 initiated a deeper scan of Maya Richardson's history. Professional achievements, case records, and personal data cascaded through the chamber in streams of light. The observer's crystalline form pulsed with excitement as patterns emerge. Provisional assessment, Cakes 227 announced. This human may represent an evolutionary branch we failed to anticipate. Their species' imperfect systems may be generating unprecedented adaptability. The chamber filled with debate frequencies as the observers processed this possibility. Their own civilization had achieved perfect justice countless cycles ago. Every case assessed with absolute fairness, every decision optimized for maximum societal benefit. Yet something about Maya Richardson's response suggested a different kind of advancement. Consensus required, IT 449 projected. Do we maintain standard observation protocols or initiate direct contact procedures? The ship's systems hummed as billions of calculations processed the implications of each choice. Outside, Earth continued its rotation, unaware of the momentous discussion taking place in orbit. Suddenly, all 3 observers froze as new data streamed in. Maya Richardson had just entered the federal courthouse downtown, her neural patterns showing heightened activity. The case she was about to prosecute would provide crucial data for their decision. Motion to observe, Cakes 227 declared. The other observers signaled agreement, their forms aligning in the traditional pattern of consensus. The vessel's sensors focused on the federal courthouse, penetrating layers of concrete and steel to monitor the proceedings about to unfold. As Maya Richardson prepared her arguments for a completely different kind of court, the Nexian observers prepared to witness either confirmation of their theories or proof that humanity remained too primitive for contact. Above the bustling city, unseen and unknown, 3 crystalline beings leaned forward to watch justice unfold in ways their perfect system had forgotten was possible. Maya stood before the federal court, her voice clear and composed as she laid out the government's case against an international cybercrime syndicate. The evidence filled 3 digital displays behind her, showing complex financial trails across 17 countries. Your Honor, the defendants systematically targeted vulnerable. Maya paused as the courtroom lights flickered. A strange iridescent glow began to fill the room, starting from the corners and flowing like liquid light across the ceiling. The judge leaned forward, mouth open but silent. Time seemed to slow. The air shimmered with rainbow refractions, and 3 crystalline forms materialized in the center of the courtroom. Their translucent bodies pulsed with internal light, each standing roughly 7 feet tall. The bailiff reached for his weapon, but found himself unable to move. Maya Richardson. The central figure spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. I am Senior Observer KEX 227 of the Nexian Assessment Team. We have been monitoring Earth's judicial systems, and you have shown us something unprecedented. The courthouse fell into absolute silence. Maya's years of courtroom experience kept her voice steady as she responded. May I ask what brings representatives from another world to this proceeding? The crystalline being's form shifted, projecting a holographic replay of her traffic court appearance from 2 weeks ago. This incident, we observe your response to systemic imperfection. Rather than assert your power, you chose a path that preserved the system's capacity for growth. I'm afraid I don't understand the significance, Maya replied, her prosecutor's mind already analyzing every detail of this extraordinary situation. The second crystalline figure, slightly bluer in hue, moved forward. In our civilization, we achieved perfect justice millennia ago. Every decision, every judgment, optimized beyond any possibility of error. But watching you, we realized what we lost in that perfection. The third being completed the thought, the ability to grow, to learn from mistakes, to become better rather than simply being perfect. The courtroom remained frozen as Maya processed their words. The judge, the bailiff, even the defendants, all held motionless in the strange light. Only she could move and speak. Your Honor, Maya addressed both the human judge and the alien observers, legal training kicking in despite the bizarre circumstances. I request a brief recess to consult with Earth's representatives about these proceedings. A sound like crystalline laughter filled the room. Protocols even now, KEX 227 observed, but there will be no recess. Humanity faces a choice. Your species struggles with bias, inequality, and injustice. Some would say you are too primitive to join galactic society. And what do you say? Maya asked, standing her ground as she had in countless legal battles. The crystalline beings moved in perfect synchronization, forming a triangle around her. We say that your imperfection may be your greatest strength. We offer you a chance to prove this before the Galactic Tribunal. You will present humanity's case. Maya felt the weight of billions of lives settling on her shoulders. Everything she had trained for, every case she had fought, seemed to lead to this moment. She straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and did what she had done countless times before. Accepted the challenge of proving her case. I accept the position as humanity's advocate, she said firmly. Though I request access to all relevant laws and precedents. The crystalline beings pulsed with approval. As Maya prepared to step into the most important court of her career, she couldn't help but wonder if that simple traffic stop had been a test all along. Time resumed its normal flow, and the real trial for humanity's future was about to begin. Maya sat in her office, surrounded by holographic displays of alien legal proceedings spanning thousands of years. The Nexians had provided access to their entire judicial database, trillions of cases from across the galaxy. Her eyes burned from hours of reading, but she couldn't stop. A pattern was emerging. Species after species had achieved what they called perfect justice, systems that eliminated all bias, all error, all human elements from their legal processes, and one by one, these civilizations had stagnated, their societies becoming as rigid as their laws. Like a stream that stops flowing, she muttered, making notes on her tablet. The moment it achieves perfect clarity, it becomes ice. Her computer chimed with an incoming message. Judge Phillips' name appeared on the screen. Maya hesitated before opening it, remembering their last encounter in traffic court. The message was brief. Ms. Richardson, I've received some unusual visitors. We need to talk. Across town, in his chambers, Judge Phillips sat across from a crystalline being, his hands trembling slightly as he held a cup of cold coffee. The Nexian observer had shown him everything. Maya's full credentials, her case records, and most devastatingly, his own pattern of biased decisions over the years. Your neural patterns indicate distress, the observer noted. This response suggests awareness of previous errors. Fascinating. Phillips set down his cup. 30 years on the bench. I thought I was being firm, being fair. But seeing it all laid out like this, he gestured to the holographic display showing statistical analyses of his sentencing patterns. Maya arrived at his chambers 20 minutes later. She paused in the doorway, taking in the strange scene of the elderly judge and the crystalline alien engaged in deep discussion. "Ms. Richardson." Phillips stood, his voice carrying none of its previous authority. "Or should I say, Federal Prosecutor Richardson, I owe you an apology." "Your Honor," Maya acknowledged, entering the room. "I think we all have bigger concerns right now than a traffic fine." The Nexian observer's form shifted, creating a three-dimensional display in the center of the room. "We have shared our databases with both of you for different reasons. Maya Richardson must prove humanity's worth through its capacity for growth. Judge Phillips demonstrates that capacity in action." Phillips turned to Maya. "They showed me everything. Years of data, patterns I never wanted to see. But what strikes me most is how you handled my prejudice. You chose not to humiliate me, not to fight back." "Why?" Maya considered her answer carefully. "Because justice isn't about winning, Your Honor. It's about making things better. Sometimes that means knowing when not to strike." The Nexian's form pulsed with approval. "This insight appears repeatedly in your species' legal history. Moments when restraint achieved more than force, when understanding surpassed punishment. And that's what we need to prove to the Galactic Tribunal," Maya realized. "Not that we're perfect, but that we're perfectly equipped to keep improving." Judge Phillips straightened his robes. "Then you'll need a witness, someone who can testify to humanity's capacity for change. Someone who had to face his own failures to grow beyond them." The Nexian observer vibrated in what they had learned was their expression of agreement. Outside the chamber windows, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Somewhere up there, a galactic court waited to pass judgment on humanity. Maya looked at her former adversary, now turned ally, and nodded. Their species' future would depend not on showcasing their perfection, but on proving the value of their imperfection. The real work was about to begin. The Galactic Tribunal chamber stretched impossibly high, its crystalline walls disappearing into shadows above. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the ascending seats, their forms ranging from ethereal light beings to silicon-based crystalline structures. At the center stood Maya, her dark suit a stark contrast against the luminescent floor. "Proceed with your opening statement, Advocate Richardson," intoned the Chief Justice, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient metallic frame. Maya had spent hours studying the protocols, yet nothing could have prepared her for this moment. "Esteemed members of the tribunal," she began, her voice steady, "I stand before you not to claim that humanity has achieved perfect justice. Instead, I will demonstrate why our imperfect system holds unique value for the galaxy." Holographic displays materialized around her, showing scenes from Earth's legal history. She had chosen each carefully, working through nights to build her case. First exhibit: the Nuremberg Trials, 1945 to 1946. Maya gestured, and the images shifted. Humanity faced the challenge of judging unprecedented crimes. We created new frameworks of international law, not because we had perfect answers, but because we needed to find them. Murmurs rippled through the alien audience. Maya advanced through her presentation, showing how Earth's legal systems evolved. From civil rights movements to environmental protection laws, she highlighted humanity's capacity to recognize its mistakes and work to correct them. "Observable progress," noted one crystalline justice, "but your species still maintains thousands of conflicting legal systems. Inefficient, imperfect." "Yes," Maya agreed, surprising the justice. "And in that imperfection lies our strength. Each system learns from the others. When one jurisdiction finds a better solution, others adapt and improve." She brought up an image that made several alien observers pulse with discomfort. Judge Phillips' courtroom. "Consider this recent case, A judge confronted with evidence of his own bias. In a perfect system, such bias would be impossible. But in our imperfect system, this discovery led to growth, to change, to improvement. The Chief Justice leaned forward. You argue that imperfection has value. I argue that the capacity to recognize and correct imperfection is more valuable than static perfection, Maya replied. She gestured, and new data streams filled the chamber. Your own records show that societies which achieved perfect justice stopped evolving. Their laws became fixed, their thinking rigid. She walked the circumference of the presentation area, her voice gaining strength. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our success, it's our failures. Because every time we fail, we learn. Every time we recognize an injustice, we work to fix it. We're not trapped in perfection. We're free to grow. The chamber erupted in discussion frequencies. Maya waited, heart pounding but posture confident. She had one more card to play. I call my first witness, she announced as the chamber quieted. A human judge who will testify to the value of recognizing one's own errors. Judge Phillips entered the chamber, his judicial robes seeming oddly appropriate among the assembled alien dignitaries. He walked with purpose, carrying not just his own story, but the weight of humanity's potential for change. Maya caught his eye as he took the witness position, seeing in his face the same determination she felt. They weren't here to prove humanity was perfect. They were here to prove something far more important, that humanity would never stop trying to be better. The Chief Justice's energy form flickered. Proceed with your witness, Advocate Richardson. Maya stepped forward, ready to present the most important cross-examination of her career. The fate of Earth's legal independence hung on proving that their greatest weakness was actually their greatest strength. Judge Phillips stood before the Galactic Tribunal, his judicial robes catching the ethereal light that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere. Maya's questioning had prepared him well, but facing an audience of advanced alien beings made his prepared statements feel inadequate. Please state your position and duration of service, Maya began, her voice carrying the same professional tone she used in federal court. Theodore Phillips, District Court Judge, 32 years on the bench, he replied, then added with careful humility, and recent student of my own failings. The crystalline justices shifted, their forms refracting light in patterns that suggested increased attention. Phillips took a deep breath and continued before Maya could ask her next question. Members of the tribunal, I had achieved what I thought was wisdom. 3 decades of practicing law, 15 years as a judge. I believe I understood justice. He paused, letting the words settle. I was wrong. Maya stepped back, recognizing that Phillips had moved beyond their practiced testimony into something more genuine. The chamber's atmosphere seemed to intensify as he spoke. 2 weeks ago, a federal prosecutor appeared in my traffic court. I saw. He straightened his shoulders, forcing himself to face the truth. I saw what I chose to see. Not her qualification, not her character, just my own preconceptions. I rendered judgment based on those preconceptions. The Chief Justice's energy form pulsed. This admission of error supports humanity's primitive status. Why should this strengthen their case? Phillips smiled slightly. Because I'm standing here admitting it. Because when confronted with evidence of my bias, I didn't defend it. I learned from it. Even after 30 years, I'm still learning. He gestured to the holographic displays Maya had used earlier. Your perfect systems eliminated bias, eliminated error, but they also eliminated growth. The Galactic Tribunal chamber pulsed with anticipation as representatives from across the galaxy reassembled. Maya stood at the center, Judge Phillips seated nearby, as the Chief Justice's energy form coalesced into its full brightness. We have reviewed all evidence, the Chief Justice began, its voice resonating through the chamber. In 10,000 cycles, no species has presented an argument quite like this one. Maya's heart raced, but her expression remained composed. The crystalline walls reflected countless faces and forms, all focused on this moment. Advocate Richardson. The Chief Justice continued, "Your species' legal system contains documented flaws, persistent biases, and inconsistent applications of justice. These are facts you have not disputed." "No, Your Honor," Maya replied firmly. "We acknowledge our imperfections." And yet, a ripple passed through the Chief Justice's energy form. "You have demonstrated something our perfect systems have lost: the capacity for evolution. Observer KEX 227, present your findings." The familiar crystalline form of KEX 227 moved to the chamber's center beside Maya. "In studying Earth's legal history, we discovered a pattern we had forgotten to value. Their systems adapt. When they recognize injustice, they create new laws. When they discover bias, they implement new safeguards." Holographic displays materialized, showing centuries of legal evolution on Earth. Constitutional amendments, civil rights legislation, environmental protection laws, a cascade of changes and improvements. More significantly, KEX 227 continued, "We observe their response to failure. Where our perfect systems prevent failure, they learn from it." Consider the testimony of Judge Phillips. One individual's recognition of error led to systemic improvements. The Chief Justice's form expanded. "The question before us is not whether humanity's justice system is perfect. It clearly is not. The question is whether this imperfection is a weakness or a strength." Maya stepped forward. "Your Honor, perfection is a destination. But justice, true justice, is a journey. Our systems will never be perfect, but they will always be improving." A harmonic resonance filled the chamber as the assembled beings processed this concept. The Chief Justice's energy patterns shifted into a new configuration. "We have reached a verdict," it announced. "Humanity will not be placed under supervision. Instead, we assign them a different role." Maya held her breath as the Chief Justice continued. "The Galactic Confederation has achieved perfect justice, but in doing so, we have lost something vital: the ability to question, to grow, to evolve. Therefore, humanity will serve as advisors to our systems." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Chief Justice raised its energy form to full prominence. "You will teach us what we have forgotten: how to recognize our flaws, how to learn from them, how to grow beyond them. In return, we will share our knowledge, helping Earth's systems evolve while preserving their essential capacity for change." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes, but maintained her professional composure. Judge Phillips stood beside her, his face reflecting the gravity of the moment. "We accept this responsibility," Maya said clearly, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. The Chief Justice's form pulsed with approval. "Then let it be recorded. Earth joins the Galactic Confederation, not as a student of perfect justice, but as a teacher of judicial evolution." As the chamber erupted in harmonious acceptance, Maya turned to Judge Phillips. They shared a knowing look. Their journey had started with a simple traffic stop and led to a fundamental shift in galactic justice. The perfect beings had learned the value of imperfection, and humanity had found its place among the stars not despite their flaws, but because of how they faced them. 1 year later, Courtroom 7B had transformed. Crystalline observation panels lined the walls, their surfaces shifting with iridescent patterns as alien observers studied the proceedings. Judge Phillips sat at his bench, now accompanied by a holographic interface showing real-time analysis of his decisions. Maya stood at the prosecutor's podium, presenting a case to a mixed audience of humans and alien representatives. The traffic court had become a training ground for something unprecedented, teaching perfect beings how to embrace imperfection. "Your Honor," Maya addressed the court, "the defendant has admitted to the violation but presents mitigating circumstances. This offers us an opportunity to demonstrate adaptive justice." Phillips nodded, his eyes showing a wisdom tempered by humility. "Proceed, Prosecutor Richardson." In the gallery, KEX 227 and other alien observers recorded every nuance of the interaction. They had discovered that these seemingly minor cases often taught the most profound lessons about human justice. The cited regulation serves a clear purpose: public safety, Maya explained for the benefit of their galactic audience. However, our system allows us to consider context. We adjust, we balance, we learn. The defendant, a young medical resident who had parked in an emergency zone while responding to a crisis, stood nervously at the defense table. A year ago, this would have been a simple fine. Now it was a lesson in judicial evolution. Judge Phillips considered the evidence, consciously aware of his own thought processes. The holographic interface tracked his neural patterns, showing the alien observers how human judges balanced competing factors. This court finds that while the letter of the law was broken, its spirit was upheld, Phillips announced. The fine is suspended, conditional upon the defendant's assistance in developing better protocols for emergency medical personnel parking. The crystalline panels pulsed with interest. They had never considered that a judgment could create new solutions rather than simply punish infractions. After the session, Maya and Phillips met in his chambers. A holographic projection of the Galactic Tribunal's Chief Justice joined them, its energy form dimmed to comfortable human levels. "Your methods continue to intrigue us," the Chief Justice observed. "Each case becomes an opportunity for systemic improvement." Maya smiled. "That's because we stopped seeing cases as just problems to solve. They're chances to make things better, a concept our perfect systems had forgotten." The Chief Justice acknowledged. "We eliminated problems but lost the ability to grow from them." Phillips touched the interface on his bench. Today's cases reached 15 systems across the Confederation. They're already adapting similar flexibility in their courts. Maya gathered her files, pausing at the door. Perfection isn't the goal anymore. Excellence through constant improvement. That's the new standard. As she walked through the courthouse halls, Maya passed dozens of alien observers studying everything from parking tickets to property disputes. Earth's imperfect system had become the galaxy's most valuable teaching tool. Outside, the setting sun painted the sky in brilliant colors. A crystalline observation vessel moved visibly across the horizon. The Confederation no longer hid their presence. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by achieving perfection, but by showing a better way. Maya looked back at the courthouse, remembering that day 1 year ago, when she'd stood before Judge Phillips as a traffic violator. Their journeys had come full circle, but the circle kept expanding, reaching across the galaxy. In confronting their own flaws, humanity had taught the perfect beings the most important lesson of all. True justice isn't about being flawless. It's about never stopping the journey toward something better. Above her, the stars began to appear, each one now a reminder that the universe's greatest strength often lies in its imperfections.